Hello, everyone, and welcome back into the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, brought to you as always by the GSMC Sports Network. And for our second segment of today's show, we're going to be continuing with our top 5 rankings at each respective position around the MLB. And this time around, it is our guys on the hot corner, one of my favorite positions to analyze in all of sports, third baseman. Not as for their defensive importance, but their offensive prowess as well. And again, I try to keep this list as balanced as possible between guys who lean a little bit more towards defensive success than offensive prowess. But I found that it has become a little bit more based on power. Also, on this list, a lot of questions are going to be asked about where certain players might actually end up. Specifically that situation over there in Boston, to kind of foreshadow what's to come on this list. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. I think this is going to be a very enjoyable list, one of my favorite positions, like I said, to talk about. And I think a lot of you will potentially agree with this top 5. And if you don't, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm always open to other opinions. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it, starting off at number 5. A guy who hasn't always been too consistent for Atlanta, but who hasn't not been consistent for Atlanta in the past couple of years. It's Austin Riley. And think about Austin Riley. This is still someone who only turns 28 this year and is still on year 4 of a 10-year contract. But I think the importance of him in this squad kind of translates over to last season, when already injuries to Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr. were huge blows to the Braves' championship hopes last year. But I think a lot of people didn't realize that when Austin Riley broke his hand at the end of August, that also impacted the team as well. So I truly think that Austin Riley may not be as appreciated as some of the other Braves stars, but he truly is such an important cog in the Braves machine, to the point where that injury kind of was even more detrimental to their squad than their top pitcher going down and potentially their top overall player going down as well. He just adds so much defensive solidity combined with his offensive prowess, even though it was a down year for him by his lofty standards, only 19 home runs, 56 RBIs, 256 batting average. But I still believe that he is such an important piece that we couldn't leave him off this list. And he's still young, still in the prime of his career, still early in his contract, going to just about hit the halfway mark here with this year. So look for him to continue to see his star ascend in the MLB as the Braves potentially contend for a World Series title this year. Then at number 4, let's talk about Mr. Manny Machado, truly a generational talent. A lot of people kind of forget how elite he's been over the years, no matter where he's bounced to as well. But this is a year where Manny Machado could reach 2,000 hits, and possible that he gets somewhere to the point where potentially next year he'll be able to hit his 400th home run. And in order to truly cement Manny Machado's legacy, even if San Diego, in this weird period of purgatory for them, does not contend for a World Series title over the next couple of years of his contract, let's put into perspective how elite he's been. He could pass, in the next couple of years, Sammy Sosa, Dick Allen, Mike Piazza, and Vladimir Guerrero Sr. in career WAR. That would be highly elite company for a player of Manny Machado's caliber. 275 last year, 29 home runs, 105 RBIs. Him and Tatis really are going to carry the load for this Padres team this season, even though it's going to be tough to try and contend with the Dodgers year in, year out, as they just continue to stockpile talent as well. So, looking at Manny Machado, it might remain an aberration, the player he is. But you can't forget about him just because he hasn't performed to a World Series standard as of yet. In the Padres, yes, they're still a solid enough team to where they could get into the playoff picture potentially as a wild card and wreak havoc once they get there. But I just don't see them in an elite tier. That could potentially leave people a little bit apprehensive and uncertain about the future of Manny Machado and what it could mean for his legacy. But I refuse to let the lack of championship credentials negate anything he's already done in his career, because it's truly remarkable, and he will stand the test of time as one of the elite third basemen of this generation when it's all said and done. And maybe it might not come with a World Series, but that doesn't necessarily have to matter concerning how many stats he's put up over the past couple of years. So Manny Machado sits here at number 4. Now, let's get a little bit weird here. Let's talk about the conundrum that now is what's to do with this Boston Red Sox infield. Because with the signing of Alex Bregman, there now is going to be a lot of tension and contention, no pun intended with that rhyme scheme there, for those infield spots. Let's not forget that the prospects that they have in the infield most likely could come up this year. Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony are both elite enough, both hitting and defensive-wise, to get called up this year. And if they do, it leaves a lot of things in question for both Rafael Devers and Alex Bregman, my second and third ranked third baseman, respectively. You see how I had to use quotes there. Let's talk about Devers first, because he was rather insistent that should the Red Sox bring in Alex Bregman, that he would remain at third base. But now, it's looking like because of the allure of an Alex Bregman potentially hitting in this ballpark, in Fenway, he could move to a DH role. And it wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing for a player of Devers' caliber, because chances are, when you think offensively, Rafael Devers is someone who can set up players like Bregman in this lineup to where you can produce a maximum amount of runs in an inning. So I really don't mind it if Rafael Devers has to shift to the DH role to allow Alex Bregman to play in his natural position. But I do feel that in terms of natural talent, there is more to like about Devers than Bregman. I think Bregman, where he's at right now in his career, he's still an elite power hitter in certain regards. He hasn't necessarily had the best of slash lines playing at Fenway in the 21 career games he has played there. But when I look at the profile and the long-term future of the Boston Red Sox, I think there's more to invest in with Devers than there is in Bregman. And I really don't understand why the Red Sox would bring in a guy like Bregman to further muddy up the waters here in that Boston Red Sox infield. Because I think that both Meyer and Anthony are talented enough to hold down these respective positions at the very least for the decade and a half. So bringing in a guy like Bregman to kind of stunt that development doesn't make much sense to me. So that's why, even though I wouldn't be mad to see Rafael Devers hit in a more natural role as a DH and allow for Bregman to kind of ease into his own role on this new team, I feel that it's a disservice to these younger guys trying to break through in this league. And so, while I truly believe that both of them, if you view them as third basemen, are elite talents, I don't necessarily know what the future of the Red Sox is going to look like with both of them there, combined with the talent they have. So, while I think that Devers and Bregman are correctly placed on this list, because Bregman is steadily declining and could drop out of the top 5 entirely, and Devers has more promise both defensively, in my opinion, and as a pure hitter, I think that ultimately it's going to come down to how the Red Sox view both of them going forward and how the rise of these younger players will impact the organization's thinking. But everyone is staring up at one of the top players at this position for the past decade or so, really. Truly has made the definition of a power-hitting third baseman his own. Truly an elite Hall of Fame level career. And he's still playing incredibly well into an age where a lot of people would expect him to retire. Jose Ramirez. Yes, right now he's probably the biggest liability for the Guardians defensively, but his numbers are not going down in the slightest. This is a man who had 39 home runs last year, 5th in the major leagues, and drove in 118 runs, and that was 3rd. And he's still hitting for average as well, a solid 279 mark as well. And when his career is all said and done, this is someone who is emblematic of a guy who just is a pure hitting powerhouse. This is someone who has hit for average and power throughout his career. Not just someone who views hitting as just a producer of runs. He views hitting both ways. He knows the power he has, and he knows when to employ, but he also knows, as this team has transitioned throughout the years to a little bit more of a defensive-minded one, how to rein it back and hit for more of an average total. So Jose Ramirez has just been elite in terms of his adaptability, both offensively and defensively. And I don't think he's showing any signs of slowing down, at least on the offensive side. Maybe he's a defensive liability, but don't let the numbers fool you in terms of how powerful he still is as a hitter, even if he declines this season. Let me know what you think in the comments below, because coming as we transition to the shortstop position, who are the top players in that area of the field right after this short break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports?